This is a presentation on lifting and rigging and safety associated with lifting and rigging. Lifting with an overhead crane has some specific hazards associated with it. In this video, I'll also be talking about lifting with excavators. The lifting with cranes involves certifications, working around potentially handling suspended loads, using tag lines to control the load, developing a method of escaping if something goes wrong, to prepare yourself to move out of the way, supporting the load prior to placement, so making sure we're cribbed up and the load is always in control even before we put it into place. Developing lift plans to plan out the movement and make sure that we don't have any catastrophe while we're handling the load. And another component is, making sure that the rigging we use is in proper and safe condition. The first part of cranes is actually the certifications. Some years ago, OSHA made some changes to their rules, and now if you're a crane operator, you have to have a certification and be qualified to actually run the crane. Also, there's some certifications regarding the qualifications of a signal person and the person actually doing the rigging. So these are all improvements that have been made by OSHA, and they're fully implemented now. So all these certifications and qualifications are very important to controlling the load and preventing failures and preventing injury during the movement of suspended loads by a crane. Working around suspended loads, I mentioned the use of tag lines, so I could have, and you can see in the image on the bottom, there's some tag lines to control the load so it doesn't spin or get out of control. We can move it into position without actually touching the load with our hands. And if I'm touching the load with my hands, kind of putting myself in a situation where I'm coming too close and underneath the load. So there are some tools. There's an image at the top that shows some devices that we can use that will allow us to move the loads hands off. And it also helps in some ways. I can use tools that are insulated and prevent myself from touching a load that could potentially be energized from a power line. So there's some benefits from being not under the load and some benefits to handling a load with something that's even potentially insulated. Again, I mentioned having a means of escape. So I want to make sure that I'm outside of the fall zone, and OSHA discusses this 10-foot idea of out of the fall zone, and when there's the load is suspended at 15 feet in elevation. So I'm giving myself room if something goes wrong, and I'm always looking to see where I can step away if anything goes wrong. So we see in the image there's a suspended structure, and it's hard to tell from the picture how close the person is underneath it or not, but these rules apply, and we're going to give ourselves plenty of margin to make sure that we don't get caught underneath the load. Supporting the load and prior placement. So whenever we're handling a load, the crane operator should stay with the load, stay in the cab while the load is suspended, so that we always have control of the load. And if we're going to put something into position to be supported, that we make sure it's blocked and ready for final placement, so that we're, again, always in control and the operator is in good control of the load. Lift plans, there's one of the bullet points down here is, if we get into a critical lift, that's 75% of the capacity of the crane, we should really put a lift plan in place. The manufacturer has, recommendations for lift plans. So we're going to develop a plan that assesses all the risks of that lift. And we're going to inspect the crane. We're going to make sure that qualified persons are assessing the risk. We're developing a written plan. We're getting all the parties involved in the lift plan, from the crane operator to the folks that are signaling, the rigging, and all the components of it, to make sure that we're in control and we have a good plan to make that move. This kind of takes place even in situations where we're maybe not at 75%, but we're lifting a load over something that's critical. Like if we were in a refinery or some facility where I'm lifting over power lines or some other situation that could be dangerous. So the lift plan is going to give me a chance to really analyze and figure out if I've taken into account all the risks that are associated with that lift. And when we develop a lift plan, we're going to share it with everybody and that's involved in this lift, and everyone's going to be on the same page so that we understand the hazards and how we've addressed those hazards during the lift. As we use our lifting equipment, our rigging equipment, we're going to make sure that we're going to have a qualified person doing the rigging. So they've been trained and they're qualified to look at the rigging to make sure that there's no damage, wear, or abuse of the equipment. And we're going to make sure that in this image here, I have a picture of some of the tags on the rigging gear. So we're going to make sure that the capacity is correct for our rigging, and the person doing the rigging should understand how to make those decisions. And so we're going to make sure that nothing's damaged, nothing's worn out, and everything is in proper condition, which allows us to be again in better control and less of a surprise if something fails. So if we've inspected it first and took all these factors into consideration, it puts us in a safer condition. There are times that we might lift something with an excavator, and the manual for the excavator actually has a lift capacity on the excavator. But again, with an excavator, it's not exactly a crane, so we want to make sure that the operator is trained, that we have signal persons, and our rigging is correct. We're going to inspect all of our attachments, the lifting gear, the rigging, and we're going to stay within the published capacities of the excavator. One of the things that is also a part of this, we're going to stay, make sure we're on stable ground and everything's solid. But lifting with an excavator has some additional hazards over a crane, and we have to especially make sure that we're following the manufacturer's guidelines and that we're not in a position where we have someone underneath that suspended load or too close to it where it could be a problem. So lifting with an excavator is allowed, but we have to take some extra precautions to make sure that we don't have a failure or someone's underneath the load that's being suspended. In the image, again, I put some danger signs up there basically because we don't want to be too close. There's a concrete pipe being lifted into the excavation. We don't want to be too close to that where if the boom fails or any component of that excavator fails, where that person is going to be underneath the load. Again, as a quick review, right, in lifting and handling these loads, we have certifications, training, and we have a number of safeguards that we have in place to make sure that the folks doing the rigging, operating the crane, and doing the signaling have the right qualifications to do that job. When we're working around suspended loads, we have to keep our distance and we have to keep ourselves in a safe zone. We can use tag lines or other tools to help us guide the load so we're not hands-on. And we always have to think about what is our means of escape. If something fails, I don't want to get pinned or struck by the load. What's my way out? We want to make sure that anything that we use to rig is supported and is supported before placement and in a good position so that we don't lose control of the load. We also have to make sure that we have a lift plan in place on work that requires it. It's not a bad idea to even take a look at any kind of lifting we do and have a plan in place. And we have to make sure our rigging has been inspected. If we follow these guidelines, it puts us in a little better situation to control any lifting, keep everybody safe, and improve safety on any job where we're handling materials by crane or by excavator. Thank you for your attention.